you are Orenthal James Simpson?
Correct.
And we have that you are currently, well, very recently turned 90 years old. 90, I'm sorry about that.
I feel like it. Look, I've missed a lot of time, like 36 birthdays with my children, and I ended up missing their graduation because of it. Trust me. I wish it would have never happened. I haven't made any excuses in 9 years here, but I should have never allowed these alleged security guys to help me, because it turned out they were only trying to help themselves. I'm not a guy who lived a criminal life. As I said, I've done my time. I'd just like to get back to my family and friends, and believe it or not, I do have some real friends.
I don't feel that he's a threat to anyone out there. He's a good man. 9.5 to 33 years was way too long. It's time to give him a second chance.
We've heard from you and from your victim. My vote is to grant your parole effective when eligible.
I concur with Commissioner Korda and grant parole.
I concur with Commissioner Korda and agree to grant parole.
Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole when eligible, and that will conclude this hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And he's single. O.J. granted parole after almost 9 years in jail. It's easy to see why. Take a look at the visuals. He's jovial, joking around, people laughing along, a real cut-up. And he's older now. Age makes you look less scary. It's not that you're a better person, it's just that we can now outrun you. His hair went gray, and so did justice, as well as our grasp on morality. Now, when most people think of O.J., it's a myth linked to Emmy-winning dramas. And now he's free, unlike his victims, to live out the rest of his life with fans, groupies, and selfie seekers. I get it. He's famous and sympathetically a widower. But since we're dealing with visuals, let's really deal with visuals. Beyond the charming smile of a 70-year-old man, the great thing about the internet is the awful thing about the internet. If you've never done a Google image search of Nicole Brown Simpson murder scene, it will quickly erase that kindly old man you just saw. Maybe you should. I'll wait. So you see, evil isn't just an idea. It's a real thing, and that real thing is free. Free to enjoy a margarita on a beach. Free to enjoy TV offers from drooling producers. Free to take pictures with ignorant millennials unencumbered by his past. Maybe he'll get one or two of them back to his place and wake up the neighbors yet again. As for the rest of the world, our ability to forgive is really more about forgetting. Forgetting is easier than remembering that he butchered 2 people. But hey, he was a model inmate because his options were limited. He met the criteria of release. Will our treatment of him now fulfill the criteria of shame? You know, Dana, the irony of all of this is, or the catch-22, is the only way for him to pay the family of the victims is for us to pay O.J. for work. So we're going to have to feed his fame in order for them to get their money. So he's going to be around. We're going to see him all over the place.
He's been very wily about how to make a living in the, well, unfortunately, for his victims. Yeah. He was also smart about hiding some of that money, right? So the home that he owns is in Florida, so that's protected from the civil asset forfeiture. And also it's interesting to me how parole works differently in different states. Had this crime actually happened somewhere else, he might not have been eligible for parole today. And it is very hard, for those of us who watched this story develop over the past 20 years, it is difficult to separate what happened in Los Angeles with what happened in Nevada. And I understand that this parole board, they only were responsible for looking at this particular crime, and the rules are what they are, and so that was why they had a unanimous decision.
You know, but Juan, when I was watching it, it was just too much fun. There was too much laughter, and there's something about a charming, famous person that exempts them from the rules, right?
Always will be, and it seems to be getting more and more that we are a nation that is guided by popularity, celebrity, whether or not you are rich. I think we're guided in lots of ways by that. But in this case, I think what Dana said is on point, that this is not about the celebrated murder case. This is about the robbery. So if you look at it in those terms, the upset here would have been if he had not been granted parole because by all the criteria on the book, he's qualified. And then it comes down to something else that you're talking about, Greg, which is, okay, so now he goes out and he begins this next chapter of his life at age 70. He can't just claim the money, even if there are scurrilous producers and the like that you were referring to who want to hire him or whatever. That money will go to the Goldman family, as it should.
Yeah.
So the question is then, you know, what does he do? I don't know that he said, his daughter said today he's been humbled by his time in jail. But the O.J. Simpson we know is not a humble guy.
No.
And he's a very much an aggressive, publicity-seeking egomaniac. Right. So where does he go? I don't know. But I don't think it's the case. I don't think it's the case that this was any perversion of justice. In fact, I think this was justice.
KG, the one thing that kills me is that he was a model inmate. There's not a lot of options in prison when you're OJ to be anything but a model inmate. I mean, he's like, you know, maybe he gets extra food, but I mean, it's like, what else is he going to do? As you get older, he's not getting in fights. He's not a young kid.
Yeah, but he was, believe it or not, I thought he spoke a little bit too much, and like you said, it was very jovial in nature, which can be very disrespectful, you know, to the victims. But again, the people that you really think about as the victims are Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. But nevertheless, based on the criteria and the checklist, they would have been treating him different than everyone else if they did not release him. And they made this based on, specifics and criteria, like his age. So he tried to show remorse and that bring religion. And when you have the Christian groups lobbying on your behalf, essentially, and certify, okay, this is a person who helped bring in, he said, the Baptist Church and Services there. He counseled and ministered. Keep checking the list. He hit all the checkpoints to make sure to accomplish his goal. And when you talk about the monetary, compensation and what he might get, this feeds him if he's going to get that kind of notoriety and attention, even if he's going to have to turn the money over. It satiates him in a whole other way in terms of his narcissistic tendencies and sociopathic to get that kind of attention. That's paying himself and feeding the beast.
So that's, in a way, another form of discrimination. If you're a criminal and you lead a model life in prison, but you aren't religious, you're discriminating against people who aren't religious. So therefore, it helps you to be either a Buddhist, a Christian, or a Muslim in jail.
That's correct.
That's discrimination against people who aren't religious. Different part of the story. Jesse, how should the public treat him?
I think you're exactly right. You said the other day it's going to be the O.J. selfie is going to be the new selfie of the day. That's unfortunate. I think O.J. is a drug, and America needs its fix. The crime of the century is still so intoxicating. You have every ingredient to the perfect drama, or trauma to most people. You have fame, you have celebrity, you have jealousy, you have rage, you have athletics, you have justice or injustice. And you have someone like O.J. Simpson who comes out, and you said it, Greg, the man is so charismatic. He's so engaging. He's funny. He draws you in. But in a way, it's very manipulating because he's also incredibly delusional. You see the eyes darting around. You see him twitching a little bit. You saw the flash of anger when he kind of, flashed his temper. So he says, I lived a conflict-free life. No, you didn't. He said, I was never accused of wielding a weapon against anybody.
I don't use
What
guns.
about the knife at Rockingham? He says he almost said he felt like justified in getting his memorabilia back, which is insane. So I think he was obviously over-sentenced for this first burglary because the judge wanted them to pay the price for skating on the double homicide. But now I feel bad for Nicole Brown Simpson's family. I feel bad for the Goldman family. This opens up an incredible amount of new wounds. And he's going to go out there and try to shield his assets and do whatever he can. But I think there is going to be a new chapter in the life of O.J. because I don't see O.J. riding off into the sunset in Florida. I don't think he can help himself. I think he doesn't have any impulse control, and people are going to be looking to push his buttons, and anything can happen.
But you know what? I think he's reviled in this country in so many quarters, including the Hollywood elite, the fancy crowd,
Well, he's lost them.
That's right. That's what I think. He's lost
them. He doesn't need the fancy Hollywood elite. Just wait and see what happens.
I bet he could pay off the family in 3 years, the way, either with pay-per-view appearances, because what is it, about 35, 40 million?
No, it's up to 50.
It's up to 50 million?
He could do a live confession.
Yeah, you could do a live confession. Exactly. Reality show ideas. Living with OJ. He could move into people's homes, offer advice.
Yours first.
He could do Find the Real Killer. A reality show with detectives where he searches for killers. How about that?